Now at 6, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us here in the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Sarah Sanchez.
And I'm Brent Harden. On this Opioid Awareness Day, the city of New Haven announces the first round of settlement money from a national lawsuit involving prescription drug companies.
That funding is being used to combat the opioid epidemic. Fox 61's Julia LeBlanc reports it's a crisis that's hitting the community particularly hard.
The folks who work here describe a world in which there are people outside their doors every day struggling with addiction but not coming inside to get help. They say they hope this new settlement money will help them change that trend.
We know there's a gap between what we're able to provide and what we're actually providing because of barriers to care, stigma, and so on.
Dr. Ben Oldfield spends every day working to combat the opioid epidemic here at Fairhaven Community Healthcare. While the work goes on inside, the disease spreads right outside their doors.
We see people on the Grand Avenue corridor all the time who are struggling with opioid use, alcohol use, issues pertaining to sex work, who are literally feet from our front doors but not getting into care.
And the problem isn't just persisting here.
Not a week goes by in New Haven where we don't lose 1 or 2 or 3 people.
In 2023, Mayor Justin Elliker says the city lost 115 people to overdoses, with 85% of them involving fentanyl.
I think it's really important always to recognize that this isn't about numbers, it's about people.
Connecticut's Attorney General William Tong has made this issue his own, fighting with others across the country to go after big pharma companies contributing to the crisis. This year, they won one of those fights and are now distributing billions of dollars to places like this.
And we need every cent, we need every dollar.
The center plans to use the money to build a harm reduction facility along Grand Ave, taking a less clinical approach and providing everything from a place to shower to a meal to medical care.
This is not meant to be a hard sell. This is meant to be a place to save lives.
And with the goal of opening the center by October and the crisis becoming more critical, they have no time to waste.
We're trying to get people in recovery and keep them in recovery.
Now, New Haven is expected to get a total of $2.1 million from this national settlement fund. The other 2 organizations in the Elm City getting the first round of funding will be the Liberty Community Services and Yale Clinical Community Services. We are in New Haven. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
New here at 6, a University of Connecticut students facing charges for allegedly assaulting another student during fraternity initiation. 23-year-old David Vallejo was arrested Friday in connection to incidents happening in February. Vallejo is accused of choking a pledge and throwing them against a wall, ultimately causing bruising. Police say these incidents happened in Willington. Another assault that happened on campus is being investigated by the Yukon Police Department. Police did not specify which fraternity Vallejo is involved in. We now know the name of the man who was shot and killed in Waterbury yesterday. Police say 19-year-old LaShawn Nance was shot on Wood Street. He was taken to the hospital where he died. Police say this is an ongoing investigation, but anyone with information on the shooting should give police a call.
New tonight, Manchester police are investigating a shots fired incident that happened overnight. Police say they received a report just after midnight that a car was shot at on I-384 West near exit 1. No injuries were reported. Police believe the suspect was driving a gray BMW. Anyone with information should call police. Well, state lawmakers are wrestling once again with funding as time ticks away on the 2024 legislative session.
Fox 61 political reporter Emma Wolf-Horst has been watching the floor debates all day. She joins us now in studio. So, Emma, what's the latest?
Well, Sarah, Brent, earlier this afternoon, the House passed a bill allocating the rest of the state's nearly $400 million in unspent federal funding, but many groups not happy with how lawmakers are going about this. Facing a Wednesday midnight deadline, House Democrats finally submitting a bill to allocate the last of the state's federal American Rescue Plan Act dollars. The $360 million in temporary pandemic-era funding would go toward higher education, human services and nonprofits, and many specific municipal projects.
We're giving money to nonprofits. We're funding community colleges. If you're from Eastern Connecticut, we're funding UConn. We're funding Planned Parenthood so they can continue to provide services in this state.
Democratic leadership decided weeks ago not to formally adjust the second year of the state's two-year $52 billion budget passed last session. They say if they open the budget for the 2024-25 fiscal year, that would have forced them to make cuts and reductions to comply with spending cap rules.
To open the budget would have led to a parade of difficult decisions.
Instead, legislators trying to fill some of that need with these expiring ARPA dollars. Big ticket items, $160 million for higher education, $50 million for nonprofits, $21 million for early childhood education, and $24 million for mental health services. That's less than these groups asked for, but more than expected. For higher ed, $100 million is going to the University of Connecticut, with $60 million allocated to 6 other state universities and colleges. But state Republicans say this stabilization bill is really a disguised budget, accusing Democrats of shirking the fiscal guardrails.
He wants Republicans' fingerprints on the murder weapon for the state of Connecticut.
Candelora calls this legislation a punt, saying it would create problems long term by not weaning institutions like UConn off ARPA dollars, which won't be around next year. He expects the state would then have to match this spending plan from their own pocket.
This is a dangerous budget for the state of Connecticut because what it is going to do is set us up for tax increases next year, and also we are going to be potentially now violating the spending caps this year and setting us up to undo those fiscal guardrails next year.
And this bill is now heading to the Senate, where Democrats do expect approval, but also hours of possible floor debates. And even if this is passed by both chambers, Governor Lamont has expressed concern about a possibly imbalanced budget. We'll be on Capitol Watch all day tomorrow as lawmakers race against the clock to close out this 2024 session. Sarah, Brent.
Thank you, Emma. Yeah, lawmakers had less than 100 days to use up those federal funds and pass new laws.
So now they're up against a deadline, midnight tomorrow, to get a lot of those big priorities through to the governor.
This session has been about massive policy packages, like the big AI bill, for example. It's a proposal that would hopefully strike the balance between regulating the technology and embracing it. From criminalizing deepfake pornography, election misinformation, and robo-scams to training and support for schools and businesses using this software, it's stalling this session. Some lawmakers say we should let other states be the blueprint first. Governor Lamont has also suggested we wait. He's dancing around a veto threat, but proponents say something is better than nothing. Leaders say at this point it'll be tough to get it done.
A number of these big proposals have gotten both chambers' approval, like paid sick days, now on its way to being guaranteed for workers across the state. A big change since Connecticut currently only requires employers with 50 service workers or more to offer sick time. Now all workplaces will have to provide 5 full days a year. Republicans say this makes Connecticut less friendly for small businesses, but Democrats made it a priority, saying it should be every employee's right. If signed by the governor, it'll be phased in over the next few years, depending on how big the business in question is. Plenty more bills have been passed as well, from absentee ballot surveillance to healthcare worker safety. We're continuing to get you answers and the very latest from the Capitol on air, online, and on the Fox 61 News app. Be sure to tune in here tomorrow night as lawmakers close out this short session.
Turning to the weather now, a really warm, beautiful day out there. It's picture perfect.
Beautiful. Hard to let go. Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank joining us now. Rach?
Yeah, you said picture perfect, so take a mental snapshot and save it for a rainy day or 2 or 3 or 4 because that's what we have on the way starting tomorrow right out of the gate. It's raining when you wake up, and we'll see a cooler, wetter stretch ahead that's going to take us even into this upcoming weekend. But first, there's still time left in today. We've got 81 right now in Hartford, 76 for Waterbury, and temperatures in the 70s for the shoreline, except for southeastern Connecticut. Groton, New London is cooler with a sea breeze that's kicked in and temperatures that are in the 60s. Here's a look at the couple bands of showers and thunderstorms that will come through tomorrow. We've got one round in the morning and another one later in the afternoon, and both will bring us that rainfall threat. But the second one could bring the threat for a stronger storm. So tonight, no weather issues. We're still dry at 11 o'clock. For the news at 11, we're looking at overnight lows in the 50s as we head towards daybreak. And tomorrow, a wet start to the day with rain out there, maybe even some heavier downpours or a rumble of thunder. Midday, a break in the action, and then we'll have to watch for that pop-up storm threat. It won't be everywhere, but some towns could see a stronger storm. We'll explain your full forecast coming up.
All right, Rachel, thank you. Well, it was a day of bombshell testimony in former President Trump's New York criminal trial. Adult film star Stormy Daniels took the stand and described a sexual encounter with Trump and a deal to keep her quiet. Fox's Connor Hansen has more from New York.
The woman at the center of former President Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial takes the stand. Stormy Daniels, questioned by the prosecution, provided her account of an alleged sexual affair with Trump in 2006. At times, she went into explicit detail about their encounter, prompting challenges by the defense and causing Judge Juan Merchan to strike some of her answers from the record.
All of these details that we're learning about, the pajamas, the back and forth, the kind of play-by-play in the hotel room, none of it has much legal relevance to the cases and to the charges that the DA is pursuing here. But they're going to be capturing headlines for days.
Daniels told the jury after Trump announced his run for president, she sold the rights to her story to Trump's ex-attorney Michael Cohen for $130,000 and signed a non-disclosure agreement.
As part of this, to keep the story quiet. They're going to want to talk about whether she thought that the reason this all came together was to help him win the election.
Legal experts agree the testimony could be damaging to Trump, but some question how much it actually ties him to the crime. Prosecutors need to prove Trump falsified business records to cover up the hush money payment.
And everyone's saying, oh, gee, that's the fraud. That's what they're trying to get us on. The fact that we call a legal expense a legal expense.
Trump's defense moved for a mistrial based on Daniels' testimony, which Judge Juan Merchan denied. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.